Barely 2 months after the two-chamber parliament was constituted, tough wars have emerged, with the Senate and the National Assembly members facing off on who had more power than the other. And a bill by Kiharu lawmaker Irungu Kang'ata could escalate the supremacy contest. The first-time legislator is seeking to introduce in the National Assembly a bill seeking to abolish the Senate, claiming that its functions as outlined in the Constitution were minimal and could be taken over by both the National Assembly and the Council of Governors to avoid duplication of roles.
By the way, ask yourself, what is the role of a senator? After 5 years, what will a senator come and tell members of public? You see, an MP has 4 roles, primarily. 1, legislate. 2, oversight, government expenditure. 3, representation. 4, to a certain extent, to a limited extent, to be a person who is involved in CDF management and other government funds. What about a senator? He does not have any of those roles. His role, to a very small extent, is only 1, to legislate on matters relating to devolution counties.
The second one was
the majority leader in the Senate, Professor Kithure Kindiki, however, says dismissing the House's functions as minimal was missing the point, since the rationale for creating 2 chambers of parliament was informed by the system of government that Kenyans approved when they adopted the then proposed constitution in 2010, paving the way to a new order.
To do away with any of the chambers, especially to do away with the Senate, you'll have to convince Kenyans to abandon devolution and go back to centralized, unitary centralized Kenya.
Kang'ata in his bill also outlines that by abolishing the Senate and reducing the number of constitutional commissions, the country could save billions of shillings that could be channeled to other development projects in line with the principle of a leaner and effective administration.
If my bill goes through, it will save government about 5 billion per month. 5 billion per month in a year, that's about 12 times 5 is 60 billion. 60 billion, in my own opinion, is enough to give our children free lunch every month, every free lunch, every public school, every day.
The bill seeking to abolish the Senate, if it will succeed, will be the first amendment on the Constitution of Kenya that was enacted in 2010. And since Chapter 8 of the Constitution that provides for a bicameral parliament is a protected chapter, Kenyans will have the final say through a referendum on the fate of the second Senate in Kenya's history.
And you know, when now it becomes political, the question will be whether Kenyan wants a devolved system or a centralized system. That's how the politics of abolishing Senate will play out. I will not be surprised if that motion will lose in a spectacular manner. It will collapse early in the morning.
It does not necessarily mean you have, for you to devolve, you must have Senate. That's number 1. That's a fallacy. Number 2, it does not necessarily mean because other countries have Senate, it is something that is good for this country. Each country must tailor-make its constitution on its needs.
Perhaps if the members of the National Assembly wish to take over the role of the Senate, then we have to converge or collapse the constituencies into 47 or increase them to 290 counties, and then they can take over our functions.
The Senate, established when Kenya gained her independence, was abolished in 1966 after the then members of the National Assembly ganged up with the then executive. But times have changed, and the current constitutional order has an elaborate procedure of how each of the 2 chambers of parliament can be wound up if such a need arises. The Kiharu lawmaker will have to convince at least 232 of his colleagues in the National Assembly to buy his idea and set in motion the process of abolishing the Senate. But he will also have to work even harder and convince a majority of the Kenyan electorate that the senators should be going home. A tall order indeed. Francis Gashuri, Citizen Live at 9, at the National Assembly, Nairobi.